Hello world, welcome back to the UnChristian Podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. Wherever you are joining from in the world, thank you. Thank you to our viewers and fans. In Africa, we're getting so many of your messages and your feedback. This week I got a message from Gloria in Tanzania. Our second largest audience is in the United States. So hello guys, how are you there in America? Thank you, we really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, we really appreciate all your support and all your following and everything that you do for the channel to grow. If you are watching from YouTube, please press the subscribe button, click on it, click on the notification bell. If you are watching from Spotify and Apple Podcast, do leave us a review there and a comment. It helps the podcast to be pushed to more people. I'm alone this morning, meaning the queen of the UnChristian Podcast, Nandipa, is not in due to a death in the family. So we are praying for her and just holding her up as well. Shout out to you, Nandipa. This morning, I am graced and honored with the presence of two amazing financial brains. Geniuses financially, and they are going to help us to navigate Ramaphosa's economy. Jeez, gets so hot under the collar just talking about it. Guys, it's a mess. And we need some help in the area of finances and to make sense of the economy. And specifically this morning, we will talk about taxation issues and as well as property investments. So on my far left, we have in the house Miss Nomsa Nhlabathi. She is the director and the founder of Prestige Property Group. She is a property guru, a property specialist, among other things as well. And she's going to help us to see what can we make sense of what Mr. Khanyago is saying to us and how we can navigate around all the repo rates. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Really a pleasure to have you. On my immediate left, I have Natasha Lorde. She is a taxation specialist, and she is going to help us to deal with all things taxes and to make sense of SARS and what the taxman wants. She's the founder and director of Lorde Business Solutions, and we will put out their details right there on the screen so you can get a hold of them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming here. Natasha is an amazing content creator on the subjects that she specializes in, and so you'll also enjoy following her platforms as well. Ladies, thank you. I really appreciate your time on the UnChristian Podcast. When you think of the economy, just generally and broadly, what comes to top of mind? When you just think of finances and economy in South Africa right now, what do you think of? What comes to your mind? You can start, Nomsa.
When I think of the economy right now, I think of opportunity.
I was going to say the same thing. She
took your points.
And,
okay, I need to hear about this, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of us are operating from a place of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to just stand back and understand that where there's disaster, where there's craziness.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID, how many billionaires and millionaires did COVID create?
Yeah, point.
And we were watching this happen and looking on the sidelines.
Man.
And now we're kicking ourselves like, oh my goodness, I should have actually jumped in there.
Wow.
And why not start now? Why not do it now then? Now is the time.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think of.
That's great.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look throughout, and I love that we can now speak about this, but if we look throughout the Bible, the anointing is shown in the places of darkness. That's where we are able to operate in our anointing. That's where it matters.
Yeah.
So I think this is a time where you can have something like the Issachar anointing, where you know the times and seasons, where you're able to see the opportunity, you're able to see the blessing and the promotion. That's how God works. And so we can't look at things that are good and then say, oh God, that's great. But we have to be creators of that. We have to be able to actually put our anointing to work in places that look like it doesn't work. That's our creative power. That's what we're called to do.
What are the low-hanging fruits right now? Where are the opportunities that we can quickly just say, hey, here's this.
Big thing that I'll say it's actually, it seems far-fetched, but it's closer. We are moving into a space of consciousness as a collective, because we've understood money is not going to solve the problems. People are not going to solve the problem. The status quo is not going to solve the problem. So study, have a family, We're moving into a space where we have to look inward and actually understand our gifting. And we've seen how that creates industries that have not actually been around. Being a content creator is actually just speaking. It's actually just putting yourself out there. And we would only see that traditionally as being a preacher or being an apostle, things like that. But your ministry is in your voice, and what you put out there is super important. So we're actually moving into a space of people becoming conscious of their internal, their unique ministry, and how in your purpose, in your path, there's always provision. It is us trying to get God to, to bless something that it doesn't really exist. God has said that's not a real person. Like Nom said, sometimes you're operating from a place of fear. So when you're praying, oh God, please provide, please give me money, please give me this. What are you praying for? You're actually praying for God to reinforce a trauma that you have instead of walking into the person that you're called to be. So God is not going to do that, because he is a good God. And sometimes we want to equate good God with provision God. And what he's trying to do is say, no, I'm not going to give you that thing so you can stay that person. I'm trying to create a person in you. The person, you are you are the one who is never going to be. You are the new creation. I want that new creation to show in the world. And sometimes that takes being in a place where that you're forced to reckon with certain things. So sometimes you ask God to bless us with things that are just beside the point, and he can't. He just can't.
So we need to look at our giftings. We need to look at the areas that God has gifted us in. We need to look at what we have, so that we could then create those financial opportunities. So you're not saying they are there they are, go find them, go pick them up. We are going to be creators of them. That's powerful. Nomsa, what do you think? Where are the opportunities?
So I wanted to add on to what you were saying, how a lack or the lack of what we have, it's just your lack of economic participation. We don't jump in, so there's like a rope, and people are skipping, they're playing, they're there, and you're just standing back, you're watching, and that's all it is. So even beggars on the streets, that is them economically participating.
They're doing something.
They're doing something rather than just sitting at home and hoping for a call back or hoping for somebody to come save them. They are actually playing. So I think that's one of the most important things that as a country we lack, because Tasha and I we're always hiring, but it's so difficult to hire. You still have to teach someone how to double click or how to speak or
come on.
we swear
in 2023
it's terrible. We're moving towards AI, but people can't do the most basic things. You can't send an email. My friend was telling me the other day that her boss can't send an email. And that's like an political up there. You're just like, why can't you send an email? So I think that's what it is. If you're standing on the sidelines looking in and not actually participating, you cannot become whoever you're called to be. So you cannot be rewarded because you're not here. You're not doing anything.
What causes us to be in that state of just looking for a savior? Why can't we think as a people? Where's the blockage, if I can put it that way?
I do think it's fear.
It is fear.
Yeah, I think we look at other people like, I'll look at Tash and say, no, of course she's doing that. I mean, that's what she's meant to do. But I don't need to do that.
Who am I?
I mean, she's okay. She's her. Let her do her thing. But really, we don't understand that if I join Tash in the madness, I could grow with her and we could create extraordinary things in our own lane.
Exactly.
We're very good friends. She's in tax, I'm in real estate. We've got other businesses besides our main businesses. And we still are able to pour into each other.
Exactly.
And just because I'm participating and she's participating, we can add onto
a level of understanding.
So even when I look at where I grew up, the street that I grew up in, it's crazy, like the people that I grew up with and how they poured into each other things that were detrimental to them, who they were supposed to be. And with me and my siblings, luckily my parents had,
Sure.
And that they were my company, and I could point to them, and it was, they were younger, they're still on the come up,
Sure.
but like, who you hang out with and what you pour into each
The
other is very important, because there's a compounding effect.
There is.
Yeah.
And you inherit that. And on a deeper psychological level is a concept called learned helplessness. So
Learned helplessness, right?
Yeah. So what happened, there was a social study conducted.
Sure.
And the scientists took dogs, and what they did was that they caged the dogs, and when the dogs tried to come out, they electrocuted them.
Yeah.
And so they did that with monkeys as well. And I'm sure you've heard of this, where they try to go up the pole and they put water on the monkeys, and so the cage was open, the door was open. It's just like an analogy to freedom.
Sure.
The door is now open,
Sure.
but because you've had this traumatic experience with trying to escape,
You were hurt before.
then you don't come out of the cage, even though the door is open. So this is one of the biggest things, and one of the things that I thank God for every day. I think even last week Sunday I was like, my God, this is probably the biggest gift God gave me personally in my life, which is liberation of the mind. Like I feel like freedom, when God says the truth will set you free, being able to see the chains is a revelation in and of itself. But that is what we're really called for as Christians. Is actually the way that you think is so different. It is so liberated, and as a result of that, your reality reflects that. Your reality is always a lag. It's a reflection of what you think and what you do as a result of what you think. That's right? Big. As a man thinketh, so is he, and so is the life that you live. And so it's always actually a question to turn inward, not to be ashamed or to take blame, but to find, where am I not having or experiencing freedom? And money is beside the point. Like it's so.
That's what people all say. I want to do this, but I don't have funding. I want to do that. I need a boost.
Because I mean, when I think about where Tash and I started,
it
is funny.
No, it's crazy.
Literally, Mafikeng. Our offices are like right next to each other.
Oh, y'all go back to Mafikeng.
Mafikeng.
Oh,
2017, 2016, but it was somewhere 16, there.
15,
And no.
It has to. Were you already in taxation?
It has to be.
It
has to be like a delusional faith.
No, it was because
there's no way.
Entrepreneurship is insanity, isn't it?
It has to.
We wake up every day and we're just gonna go into this thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we'd sit at Ocean Basket, or Spur, or whatever. What was there? And we'd be like, do you know what, Nat? I think maybe like in 2020 we should probably get a Porsche.
Yeah. No, we would. We would.
No, I think
that time it's like 500 in the bank account.
Oh yeah. Can we have a bottle of water?
Yeah.
And maybe we should take these people out, dine them. It was delusional. It was delusional.
Wow.
But
it was definitely faith. Yeah.
And you imagining or thinking that that's a possibility for your life, even when you don't see it, even when you can't think of how on earth I would get this, when nothing reflected where we are right now.
Yes,
we knew that it could happen. We had no idea how.
No, you don't. You never. I feel like you never know how.
Wow.
Yeah, you never know.
If you know how, like,
then it's not big enough. It's not good enough.
There we go. It's not good enough. Even now in our lives, if we're talking about things that reflect what makes sense, I think we've just gotten into the habit of just talking about things. And so people, oh my gosh, Dash, oh no.
She actually used to tell me all the time. She was like, you're very crazy, but that's actually what I love about you.
Yeah, I never said that's unrealistic. I was like, practically, 1 2 1 2. It's not, and I was like, but that doesn't, like, I don't need to tell you. But it doesn't matter.
It's really the process and who you become, and that's what pays you, and that's how you make your money.
That is what pays you. Who you are. The place that if you're not getting,
who you are, not what you do.
No,
never.
Got nothing to do with what you do. That's why we say, like, money is so beside the point. There's so many things that, look, access and getting what you want is not actually about money. It's about who you are and the relationships you can cultivate.
Wow.
It's really, if you think that you can measure out how to get to where you want to get to, I don't know if you've walked with God like that, like to the point where sometimes God will put you in a position where you just don't have another option, and then you get there and you're like, I could never have mapped out this process. Even how I started TikTok and started things, it was because I was in a moment of wrestling with God at 3 a.m. and God was like, post that video, and I was like, it doesn't make sense. Like what is posting a TikTok video gonna do? And only out of that did so many other crazy things happen that if I had known, I would never have fought God. But all of the cool things that have happened in my life have come from a place of I don't know if I want to, God, I don't know. Tension, doing it scared, attention, just like a friction, like God is saying this. I'm just like, but it doesn't make sense. But it's the choice to be obedient and to say, okay, not my will, your will. But in this moment, I don't really get it, So I would say your walk with God is in those moments. That's where it really matters. If it's clear cut, and it's great to have revelation. There are many times where God will speak to you and things will be so clear and you know what to do. And I love those moments of clarity. But there are moments of obscurity that you just need a lamp unto your feet, and the one step that you need to take is what matters, and you need to take it. You need to take it.
We live in a country where there's a label on us called previously disadvantaged. Or this and that, and it seems like we own this as an identity, and it fuels our fear sometimes,
all the time.
But also it's a convenient excuse for our leaders to not deliver, and we don't see that. It's one of the things that puts us in that victim mentality, because we're waiting for a grant. Now people are fighting for an unemployment grant. They just want an unemployment grant in our country. And we are always looking for a savior. We need to break out of this. Yes, there's fear, but also there's this victimhood, and you spoke about how previous traumas. So how do we get out of this? Is it healing? Is it a journey of healing? What is it?
I think I wouldn't really say I'm completely healed. Because I also don't come from an amazing, financial background. Even if I could tell you guys, it was not pretty. I remember looking up at my ceiling, and it had, when there's damp and then there's like those yellow spots. And I remember saying to God, there's gonna come a time where I never want to see the ceiling. I'm gonna look up and this won't be here. And I had no idea why I was saying that, or what. I just knew that I don't want to be looking at the same ceiling forever. And I don't think that, I think about those moments now and I'm still like, should I even be sharing that? But I think it's important. You have to fight for your own out. And it doesn't matter what it takes or who it takes. Because later on they'll join you if they are against it. But I didn't come from a place. My mom was like, no, of course, do your business. My dad was like, get a job, get married. What's your problem? And I'm not against all of that. I'd love to get married. I'd love to, but we also need to understand that there has to be a level higher. You have to do better. You have to be better. And I don't think I don't think that it takes you healing first and then being that. I think it takes you pushing and wanting keep fighting and being that, and every single day you read something new and you implement something new, and eventually it becomes something. And the pain doesn't get better, you just get stronger.
You do.
So I'm not it's not less painful for me that I'm just a better person. I'm like, oh, okay,
just carrying it differently.
And now there's more relevant things to be sad about. They're bigger bigger issues now, and you go further and you get bigger problems, and you're like, okay, I can't be crying about that ceiling. Now I have to cry about the fact that this car is doing this and this and this. Okay, so do we call the dealership, or like,
what do we do?
And it's bigger problems, and that's what you need to be fighting for. You need to fight to get bigger problems, to have bigger problems, and solve.
Listen, everyone's got problems, but choose the kind of problems you want to have. Got bigger problems.
So solve bigger problems, and get into spaces, force yourself into spaces where the people have bigger problems, where they look at your problems and they're like, surely that's not what you're complaining about, and that will literally make you feel uncomfortable. I remember I went to a client's house the other day, I think 4 years ago, and 4 or 5 years ago, And at the 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm okay. It's okay. You know, I was driving an X5. It was okay. And this lady actually looked at me with disgust. Like, you can't be better. And I came there to consult her on her property. Yeah. Sure, my advice was amazing to her, but she felt like you can't be better than this. And I was like, I hated it initially.
What?
And actually, I think I blocked her on Instagram for a while.
Because like,
and then later on, when I start getting better, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get why that was a problem for her. The fact that I was in her space and I was like that. When I could have been better and she knew it. She saw it before I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to say. Like, it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is. Just get better.
I always say to people, sometimes when we get rebuked or even we get criticized, it's always because that person sees a better you.
Yeah.
And what you can do better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes not packaged nicely.
No, true.
It comes very bitter sometimes. Sometimes people don't know how to just deliver proper advice and criticism.
Yeah.
But you got to think about, okay, I don't like what they said about me, but is it true?
Yeah.
Exactly. Eat the meat, spit out the bones, because there's something that someone is saying.
Yeah.
And I think we can hold two truths. Like, you can have the truth of, listen, I was victimized, this was difficult, and we can't move throughout the world without grace, but you can't have that truth define your path.
Oh man.
You can't have that truth. You can have it inform and at least give you context for the pain and the decisions that you make, because it's a necessary part and it's something to rectify. But you can't use that to the expense of your own future, your own life. And more importantly, God doesn't allow that in his space. God has boundaries. God has boundaries. He says if you come standards. He says if you come to me, come with everything. I mean everything. That's his boundary. Anything less is not gonna. It doesn't work. It's not good enough. And he says I can only participate in your life like this. That's how I come. This is how it works.
I get
You die to yourself so that you can live with me, and that's how it works. So when it comes to walking with Christ, it is a daily death, and we say it in passing, but really it is in those places that matter. It's in the places where you say, I am entitled to this, I can be angry, I can hold unforgiveness, I can, but you say, you know what, okay, I'm going to exchange this for good. And then the yoke becomes easy to bear. So even though the problems are harder, are more complex, or something else, they're easier for you to bear because you actually have that grace to bear those problems. Some of the things that we're carrying, we don't have the grace to carry them.
No, we don't. We're not meant to carry.
We're not meant to carry them.
When was this moment? Maybe it was not even a day or a moment or one particular season, but sometimes we get breakthrough and healing from a series of things but when was that time in your lives where you woke up, where you saw that turnaround? You're like, I'm a different person, I'm a lioness now, I'm not that victim from yesterday. now can you imagine?
That's a big one. I think for me it was a series, but it did start, I can kind of trace it back to when I was in high school, and I used to almost lament and just cry out and fast a lot for wisdom. The wisdom is something that it gets me like passionate, like I need wisdom in my life. It's that thing that I need. I get thirsty. There are times when I wake up, I'm like, ooh, I can feel when I need a new
prayer. God, give me
wisdom, right? And it's like it's a real thirst for me, and I can always see how God infuses wisdom in practical ways in different seasons where I'm like, oh, okay, no, I'm completely different. It almost feels like my DNA changed. Like it feels like such a fundamental change to me that I can't be or think or do things differently. But I also realize that that's my unique journey as much as people can have it. I feel like that I'm like, okay, this is how I walk with God. This is how it works. So I'll just read something and God will give me like a big revelation and it just changes me, just like walking down the stairs, 30 seconds, but for me to explain what I got takes me like 30 minutes, 3 hours. It's but I don't know, it happens periodically.
For you, Nomsa?
I should have been thinking about it. I do think 2018. Sure.
Was that the year you're seeing flames?
2018 was crazy. you know, when you're sick of your own nonsense, when you're just sick of yourself, like
why?
Why am I still here?
this.
What am I doing here?
And you get angry.
But the sad thing about it is that, I think I woke up by myself, and I was still surrounded by people who were sleeping. And it was the most difficult thing, because I have to wake up in this house, I have to sleep here, I have to talk to these people, and you only have maybe like one or two sources outside of your immediate source of companionship. And for you to like keep on eating from these external sources that feed you and remind you that it's possible. Let's go. Let's do this. It's very difficult. And the people that are around you will get angry at you for it.
That's something very important that we got to talk about. We have an innate guilt about leaving people that no longer fit into our next level. And how does that leaving look like without it looking like we're making ourselves better?
No, it will always look like that. It will always.
Is there a way to do this that is not like when you have to leave a village or a kasi, a township, to maybe another township or maybe to a suburban area, and you know you gotta leave because there's just such a put him down syndrome. Is there a nice way of leaving? Is there a nice way? A holy way?
I think it's important to accept that it is ugly.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to acknowledge that it's more important.
Yeah.
So you can feel what you're feeling, and your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
But it's more important for you to leave.
Yeah.
It's more important for you to leave. Even the Bible says, leave your mother and father. Just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave.
And I think if that is the question, you need to find out, because no characteristic is an isolated thing.
Sure.
It means that there's an innate need to be accepted, which is normal and natural. But why from these specific people? Because if you had to leave someone else, I don't think it would be, it wouldn't be as hectic.
Yeah.
But why is it difficult to not be loved and appreciated here? Because a lot of times that will also keep you stuck in other ways. So you leave, so you make money, but you're also still trying to you see the wording you use is like it's a nice thing, like I'm trying to be a nice person, I'm trying to be a people. You think that doing that is a positive, nice thing if you do it in the best way, but it's actually not. It's actually not. It's very detrimental, because people need to see the chasm that is created. And it needs to be as stark as it is. It needs to be as it is. You need to sometimes let people experience that gap, and what we try to do is placate it. No, it's not that bad. It's not that deep. I'm not doing that. It's and you downplay. That is not humility. That is not humility. It is. It's like it's a form of pride. Like, because we don't want to be in a position where we are not liked. So it's not about the other person as much as we want to think it is. We're trying to not feel the pain because we don't want to cause pain, which we're not. So it is something to work out, because that will follow you throughout life, and it will keep you, your ability to stomach that will keep you where you can handle displeasure from somebody else.
I think also we think that it's just about us, but it's that conversation I was having with you when I wanted to fire one of my agents, and I felt like not firing her was good for her, to spare her feelings, to help her. But I realized, no, my keeping you here is crippling you too. As much as you're crippling me, I'm crippling you.
Very much.
So we can't operate from that space of, I need to keep my brothers and my mom and my dad, feeling okay, and that it's not too much for them, and because as much as they're crippling me, I'm enabling them to remain where they are. They don't see the possibilities out of this anymore. But if I broke out of it, then they would be like, oh, so that's possible. Oh, so we can do that.
And it shows them what they're not doing, and that is difficult for people,
but
it's actually healing for people, because you need to be confronted with the truth of not just the possibility but the reality of what you're not doing in your own life that you're called to do. And sometimes it doesn't look comfortable, but it is a very necessary thing to do.
Sure. From the top of your head, what are the financial mistakes that we are making, particularly our audience is young adults, around 20 to 45? What areas are we? What errors are we making financially that are keeping us down? We're talking about developing financially and economically here on this episode. So, what are the errors, mistakes, things that we should have right on the basic level? Yeah.
I think just top of mind, first thing that came to my mind was credit.
Yep. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. Are you? Yeah. So I was like, no, she'll talk to it.
Yeah, definitely credit, because you're annoying. Because you can make all the money in the world.
Yeah.
If you cannot access credit, if you cannot use credit, your life will not change.
Yeah.
You're going to remain. It's a cycle.
So
you're going to spend the money.
It's not about getting out of credit. You talk about having good credit.
You need to have good credit. You need to have credit that actually works. It doesn't matter if your credit score is 650 if you actually don't have any credit. So from the moment, I always talk to my clients with kids, and I'm like, so what are you doing for this child for this? Have your child work in the company, pay them this, open this thing for them, open this account for them, and have it already start building up your child's
under
credit.
their name.
Yes. So I think that's the first thing for me.
Credit.
How are you cultivating or improving your credit in a way that a bank will look at you as an entity and say, I trust her or I trust him. And more than that, you trusting yourself.
Yeah, I think that's
because it is also practice. You fumble here and there, you do a few stupid things, you open an account here and there, and you let it go, and now come 20s you have to repair and blah blah, but already you feel like, I'm bad with money, I can't do this, this is let me just get the salary, let me just pay off everything so that I can just remain debt free. That's not what it's about. It's not about being debt free. Actually the wealthiest people use debt to become wealthier. They know
they can pay it.
They
know that they will be there again, make money again, and that's ultimately what sometimes we don't think we can
but
do or will
in
have.
most instances also, they don't care to pay off debts. Because the moment they die, they have a crazy life insurance that pays off everything, and the kids are still comfortable. But the things that do remain open, revolve. There's tenants in there that are paying. So I think with us, that's one of our biggest mistakes. We make mistakes with our credit very early, and then we panic. And then we say, never mind, I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. No more credits. No credit, no debt in this house allowed. It's... No.
Let's go a layer deeper there, man, because most people know about paying off debt and having no debt, cutting up your credit card. I've been to church services where it's a breakthrough moment. You go to the altar call where people are the pastor's cutting cards. I've seen things.
Wow. Wow.
Bring your credit card, get deliverance. Bring this card, that account, this place and that place. Let's cut it up. Deliverance in the name of Jesus. You're saying no. It's not about not having debt or some kind of credit going on. It's about using it better.
To your advantage. Yeah.
How does it look like? If you just take it a notch down to the practicalities of it, right? What are we talking about? Do you want to start?
In terms of managing your credit?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing that I would say is, when you have credit, the best thing that I would say use it for would be for assets, something that's generating something. But if you want to build your credit, Noms will know better about this, but you want to start off on a small level of just showing that you can actually afford and that you're a trustworthy credit
Is a house
payer.
and a car an asset or a liability?
It depends.
Is
a house and a car.
A
car, it depends. Like if it's on Uber, cool. If anything that if it has the potential to generate income, it's an asset. With a house, sometimes it is an asset in the traditional sense, in the book sense. If I'm doing your books, it's an asset, but it might be a cash flow sinkhole. So you have to decide, because cash is also an asset, which type of asset you're trying to build or protect.
Get you, right?
Yeah, so it depends on what you're doing it for. And not everybody is built to be a business owner, or they don't want to do it. That's fine. But I would say if you're building your credit, you're trying to essentially 10x your amount. So you have 100,000 rand now, but with credit you are worth more because you're leveraging off of something. So that's what you want to be able to, is to say that who I am can be exponentially increased in able to do X, whatever that plan is. So if you're building your credit, you're just trying to show that you can be able to do that in a sustainable way. So yeah, actually having those wada accounts help, because it shows that you've got the habit or the nature of doing it. You've got a track record. So again, I'm always wary of hard and fast yes or no. God, it's also Jesus also not like that. Like that's why.
True.
He came. He was like, Pharisees, Sadducees. I just want to challenge this hard and fast situation. Because it is about that X. What is it that you're doing it for? Not what it is that you're doing, but like why. That's the interrogation of the reason of having credit. So cool, you have credit, and it's great to build credit, so you have options, and that's what we need as people. We need to have options. Yeah, so that's what I was saying.
Get you. Building credit, working on credit. Advise us. What do we do? Using credit wisely, all of that.
So I think Natasha has spoken on the using of the credit wisely, that you are investing in assets more than you are, having clothing accounts and just paying those off. I think for me, when I talk about building from your child's credits into their teens, into their early adult years, for me that looks like a steady almost 700 or 700 credit score, 700 and something credit score. And when your kids approach institutions, or when you approach institutions as a collective, that you're not weighing down the team. When you're in a conglomerate, or you're trying to build something with your friends, that you're not the one that's weighing down the team. And we need to think bigger than just cars and houses. We need to think about the fact that there are institutions that actually, for example, TUF, TUHF, you can just Google it. TUF gives you money to buy buildings in the CBD. But they will look at who you are and what you're doing. They don't care about the fact that you only have access to R1 million as credit, and you want a building that's 10 million rands. No, they care about the person that you are and how you steward the little that you have.
Get you.
So it's not about can I afford this car, can I afford this house.
That it's really needs to stop being a conversation.
It's about
this affording thing.
It's all about affordability. That's why we have credit. That's why I got a salary. But we just think about affordability.
But we also need to think about a lot bigger than that. The people who built wealth do not build wealth
based on what they have.
They had a vision, and they were resourceful with whatever. They didn't have the resources, but they were resourceful with whatever they wanted to do. So I do think if you have a vision or a plan or even a thought that this could be a possibility, dig deeper into it. Think about who can I ask, or who can bring me closer to this answer. But don't ever think because Absa says you're worth R1 million. Oh my goodness, can I name that?
It's okay.
Because they say that you're worth R1 million, that you're worth that. No. You serve an abundant God. Honey, you're worth $1 million. You're worth 100 million. Don't stress about it.
Don't worry.
Just talk to this institution, give them this paper, just make things happen.
Like, because the gap, if you are your ceiling, like, where's space for God? What are we doing here? Like, what are we... What's the point?
I get you.
And it comes down, like, the way that you think comes down to what you do and what you pursue. If you in your mind say, oh, I can only afford 100,000 rand credit facility, you're going to do everything to reinforce that truth. And
it's a box.
It's a box. You've already said this is what I'm gonna do. It's like when they tie an elephant to a post. You know what I mean? You don't know what you're capable of. So it is good to start with what you have, steward what you have, but never with the mindset that this is all that you have. It's what you have right now.
Yeah.
And you should do the best with what you have right now.
Sure.
Always open, always looking to what you need to do. Because it's not even just, I want to have R1 million. No, it is actually a need. It should be something in you that, I need to push. I need to realize this vision. I need to walk in this purpose.
Help somebody who's listened to what we've just said now in the past 5 minutes, and then they're thinking, that means living beyond my means.
Living beyond your means.
It's definitely not
stewardship.
Correct that.
Living beyond.
What's the difference between what you're saying and living beyond your means?
So living beyond your means looks like just madness,
Balling.
I'm going crazy, and I'm just having time of my life. But stewardship is saying, I have a plan, I have a thought, I have there's a seed inside of me that this thing could be, this entity here could be bigger than what it is right now. Stewardship means taking care of what you have. Stewardship means using the gifts that you have, using the relationships that you have, but in a responsible way.
Get you.
So you are not swiping in a club somewhere and you're living in a back room somewhere. You are in your back room writing down a 10-year plan about, okay, how do we get out of here?
Sure.
You are cultivating relationships with people who are also thinking, how do we get out of here? Or how are we doing this? Take it a step further. You're cultivating relationships outside of where you are, so that you can be like those people that you're looking at. And stewardship does not look like you faking it. It looks like genuine relationships where, look, Ndumiso, I come as I am. This is who I am. So this is what I'm doing. This is what I was thinking. You don't know. You could be adding value to that person. There was I went on a date this other day with a very wealthy man, and I was telling him the things that my dad used to enforce about wealthy people, and how he used to say to me, you can never be with those people because you could never be a part of them. They have everything they need. And I was telling this man, and he was like, so when you look at me, you think that I don't need company? Do you think that you could never bring anything here? And that's how we need to start thinking about, even institutions, even corporates, that you look at yourself as just, some little girl from somewhere and think that you could never add value to a corporation as big as $1 billion. You could get in there and have something so impact. Simple. And for them, it's like, that's mind-blowing. How much do we pay you for that? And that's how you add value. You give what you have. You give the little gifts that you think are little that you have. And in the most genuine way, you create those relationships, and that's how you grow from that. But you don't go crazy and say, no, fake it till we make it. Oh, no, I'll swipe this for you. Oh, I'll wear this. No.
It shouldn't be about showing off. Or giving an image that doesn't exist. But interestingly, as we're talking, we keep going back to relationships.
Oh yeah, big on that.
It seems to be so key to one's personal development.
It is crazy.
The people around you.
It is crazy.
The people that you just associate with. This is key, right?
It's make or break. I always say the revenue of your business or your life is your relationships. You are worth what your relationships are worth. Some things are just easy, and I came to realize this now. I never wanted to be like the face of my business. And God was like, you do realize it's just easier when you know certain people, right? Like, it's just easier. You don't have to prove yourself. I don't have to spend nearly as much time as someone else who doesn't have a track record, or they don't have something that has to show, or people I don't have. I've got social proof. I don't have to build an Alan Gray. I can work with Alan Gray and leverage off of that. I don't have to build these different companies or places that I've worked with. I can just leverage off of that because purely off of a relationship perspective. So relationships are key, and that's the whole point. And when you're with God, that is the crux of the matter. It is Him teaching you how to love, and how to love yourself, how to love Him, so that you can carry that forward into the world. And that is what gets you into rooms. It is actually the expression of love that you've allowed yourself to experience, and that you can hold and carry and put in those rooms. That I feel has shifted. I've had teary conversations with people who are CEOs of companies simply because there's a healing I received from love that I just pass on. I just talk about it. We just have those conversations. And when we have those conversations to them, that was worth so much. And they chase you down for those conversations. The work is almost beside the point. The ministry, and I always say to God, okay, make sure that I'm always in my ministry. And my ministry, I feel, is always healing minds. And so whenever I go into a workspace, whether I'm doing taxes, I know what my ministry is, and I always lean into that, and I see the revelation that comes from that, and I see that is my power and purpose. So what you do becomes beside the point. I can do anything so long as I'm operating in my ministry. I know I'll cultivate great relationships, and it will automatically ward off people that don't want to be with me, which is great. I don't think I've had a bad interaction with people in a while, and when I do, I'm so shocked. I'm just like,
why was I
you're not used to it anymore.
Oh, you don't think no, it's not even about, I don't even think that it's about being used to it anymore. I think it's just a matter of when you operate in your truth, the right things or the right people
easily come to you. So easy. So when something comes that's like off brand, I am so confused. Like, I'm just like, no man. And I hear people talk about that also. Oh, haters. I'm like, yo, let me tell you.
Haters. I don't concept. You have haters.
You have haters? Why? What is happening? Like, you have people, don't trust, family. I feel like this happens in the black culture. Don't talk about it.
Don't tell them. Yeah, because
they're going to
No, we assign value to ourselves based on haters.
I'm working so hard, I can never rest. Because you have to be like that in front of people.
I had that so much. That team don't sleep. I had to resign. I'm getting my full 8 hours now.
No, please can we brag about that? Can we brag about being healthy, wholesome, and
I'm
healthy?
actually thinking about the fact that this man actually called us here at this time. So I have to wake up at 6.
At 6?
Okay. So going back on relationships, I also wanted to touch on the fact that relationships actually remind you of who you are. I remember somebody offered to buy my company for 4 million at a time where I thought my company was nothing. And I was like,
so actually,
okay. For me, this is just a name and a tagline, logo nyana, Canva. For me, that's what it felt like. And this man, he runs a string of mines, and he was like, look, I'll transfer 4 million rands right now. You continue running it for the next year, and then appoint a CEO. And I'm like, 4 million. That time, I'm not a million in my account. I'm like, I could walk away now. But, and then I thought to myself, I know I don't have 1 million rands, right? But if I sell this property and this, I'll have 1 million rands like in 3 months. So no, thank you, sir. And then he countered it. He kept on countering. And I was like, oh, so this thing is worth that much to you? No, surely that I must be doing something right.
Surely this you've not seen.
Let's just wait it out.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's when I decided, I'm actually going to build this company.
There's this saying on social media, a friend of mine posted it, I think last night. He said, I just want to see what's going to happen if I don't give up. Got me thinking. I've heard it before. Just want to see what's going to happen if I don't give up. I think that's where
I heard that's what it is.
Something so cool. It was, who would you be if you were uninterrupted?
Oh yes.
Right?
Oh yes.
Question.
Oh yes.
Who would you be if you were uninterrupted? If it was green lights all the way? And can I tell you, a lot of people
put uninterrupted.
Who are you uninterrupted?
Yes.
Because if you'll see that you actually put those red robots, those orange robots, because you can't picture yourself without opposition, and that's the opposition you expect and participate in.
And I think a lot of time. And I think that's what annoys me about this whole witchcraft culture.
Yes,
I think that's what annoys me about it. Because so I grew up in a very traditional home. And I think we've had this conversation.
We were talking about it this weekend.
No.
And I feel like my dad, oh God rest his soul, but like there's so many things that I felt he imposed on himself.
Okay. And he brought on.
Yes, and he was like, no, these people, this place, this space. No, I have to do something. I have to, and I'm just like, just try not do anything and see.
What
just
happens?
live your life and just see.
Yeah.
No. Mele nyo cleaner, mele nyo. And I'm just like, I wonder what it would look like, because my dad and I think I've told you the conversation where I think in 2018 we fought hectically about that, because he was like, when you pila njengomlungu, you think you're white.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, but biblically it does say that we should not do this and this and this. So, Bible, you're telling me about the Bible of my ancestors. God works hand in hand. And I was like, I hear you, but let's just see what it would look like if I tried it my way. That's when, when I told you 2018 Zachiga. It was crazy. It was crazy. But when the word of God is liberating, the love of God is liberating.
Anytime you're closing off, you're afraid,
Freeing.
you're stopping, I'm telling
just
you,
enjoy that obedience of saying,
yes,
actually, this is what God says about this thing, so no thank you.
No.
You walk away with fear.
Oh yeah,
because they instill it. They're like, no.
Maybe
no. Am I sure? Am I sure? Risk. So what if I do lose that deal because I didn't do this? No.
Like the
and then you keep walking, and you're like, so I'm clean, just by blood of Christ, I'm clean. I don't have to
without all the rest.
I don't have to. Okay. I don't have to perform for this guy. I could just be me, and he'll just love me, and he'll just like protect me, and he'll
even at your worst. You know what I love about God is that the times I've seen God work the most, like that thing where you're like, yo, blessings, my worst behavior. Worst behavior.
That's true.
Worst behavior.
True.
That is so true. Like,
though.
honestly, I think you touched your first million at your worst behavior.
I did. Like, no,
I remember this period.
I was there like, I touched my first two. First 2 mil
at your worst.
at my worst, because I was like,
I had never seen Tash be
no,
that
I was just
she was unhinged.
No,
Unhinged.
it was bad. No, and I said to God, I was like, listen, just I'll be back. Let's just.
I understand these phases.
Look, look. I know. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying. I'm not gonna condone it. This is wrong.
Sorry,
just I'm here, and it seems like I'm gonna be here for a while. So let's just be here together. Like I'm not leaving you. You're not leaving me. We're here together. And if I stay with you, you'll keep pulling me out. It's just like I'm in the mire.
I'm at that phase of my life where I'm like, God, it's me again.
It's me. And I was saying,
God, so sorry.
I know you told me.
No, I remember that time when I was slain in the spirit. And you said,
Yes.
But, so that was when I understood grace. Like I was like,
That's grace.
And I think the thing about particularly black people, I think we use Christianity to cripple ourselves.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
We use Christianity to be humble
and to feel like a good person doing the things
let
that restrict us.
Let me be small.
Yeah.
God, no. God wants you to be crazy.
Yeah. Go big,
God's
go
word
big.
liberates.
Exactly.
And we serve an abundant God.
Exactly.
Like, go mad.
Break the chains of yourself.
There's scripture that talks about how to God we are sheep and to the world we are, I think it says serpents or lions.
As timid as a sheep and as shrewd as a snake.
Yes. And we're like, no, I can't be shrewd. And then we start having conversations like, people with money. People with money.
Yes.
No, you're just afraid. Like, leave us alone.
Why can't you be the difference?
Yes.
Like, why can't you just be there? But I even looked in the Bible and we gloss over it, we gleam over it. Like, people in the Bible were so badly behaved. Oh my gosh. And I was like, this is the humanity of it. I was like, in spite of me being badly behaved, as long as I'm always willing to come back to the altar and say, like, okay, how can I be empowered to really live this Christ-like life? And we're going to fumble it, but that does not negate me not participating in what I need to do, because
the spiritual laws still stand.
They still stand. The promise still stands.
I am still here. As a result, I will be rewarded.
Exactly.
I get you. Let me be a good host and behave. Gonna go back to what
the actual
property and taxation.
We haven't
But it was so important because there's an entire mindset behind money. And we had to tap into some of those things.
Absolutely.
So we're really not off topic. But you can't say, I want to be wealthy end of the year or next year, but you have not inculcated or developed rather the right mindset to begin with. Everything is fueled by that mentality. So let me start with you, Nomsa. The interest rates have gone up a number of times in South Africa, even across the world. Yesterday in the UK, they announced another increase. The US, Europe, everywhere. Personally, what I bought the house for a year ago, I'm now paying a third of that installment more. And I'm, had I known that a year ago, maybe I wouldn't have. Because now I looked, okay, cool, I'm going to afford this. Now it's like, man. What do we do with all these interest rates hike as property owners, number one, and as property investors? Never mind how the ripple effect is touching on others in the economy, but just as property owners and investors, how do we survive this period? Are the interest rates going down now finally?
No.
What do you think?
No, they might go up again.
Oh,
that's first and foremost.
Okay, that's the end of the episode. Bye-bye.
And that's the reality of it. What you can do as like just a primary home owner is, as much as the interest rates are going up, it is a buyer's market.
A buyer's market, okay.
And people are buying up properties like you haven't seen. But credit is not as accessible as it was 3 years ago. So everything is seasonal, right? COVID, we thought COVID was winter. COVID was summer. Interest rates were low, beautiful. Credit was easy. It was cheap, right? And but then was summer, and now we're in winter. And what we needed to do then was prepare for right now. And the wealthy people did. And that's why they're able to buy up and. But as primary homeowners, excuse me, I think the most important thing for you to do is manage your credit. Excuse me. So what managing your credit looks like is the people you bought the house from, they don't want it back.
All right.
They want to keep you where you are. They want you to keep paying them that installment, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They would much rather have you say, look, I think we need to sit down and negotiate this. I was paying 10,000 rands, now I'm paying 14. Can we just keep it at 12? Then I'll come back later. And they'll listen to you. They'll actually go for it. And the other people who are almost done with it can refinance theirs and do whatever else that they want to do. But the most important thing is management of your credit as a primary home buyer.
To not default.
So
rather have the negotiations.
Yes. So have conversations before, when trouble is coming. So rather have the conversations before that happens. That's the first thing. So as investors now, oh man, it's such a beautiful time for investors.
Because they can just buy and buy and buy.
It's such a beautiful time for investors. All of the negotiations I've been a part of now. I recently had a seller say to me, look, just get rid of the apartments. I'm tired, get rid of the apartments. And the buyer is an international buyer. And she got her way.
Wow.
She got her way. She pushed it so far. And I was like, baby girl, I am proud of you. I hate that you're doing this to my client, but listen, I love this. And that's exactly what investors should be doing right now. Whatever you think it's marketed for, if it's marketed for 15 million rands, just test waters. Put in an 11 million rand offer and see how that goes. Chances are it will go. So I think that's the most beautiful thing for investors now. A lot of the institutions that borrow us money for our investments are actually keen now. They're like, how far can you take this? And I'm like, look, I'm here. Let's go. Let's fight for it. And they'll go mad.
So that's, I think communication is a big thing.
Communication, definitely. Management of putting systems in place that will ensure that you win. Don't be afraid to push just push as far as you can. Don't if you have a thought that actually this is how I'd like this thing to go, negotiate it and see if it goes.
Yeah,
they'll counter. Point. They'll come back to you and say, look, you are just crazy.
Sure.
But this is where we're willing to meet you.
Sure.
So do that.
All right. Man, because is it too late to have those conversations? You said before trouble comes?
Before defaulting, before defaulting. Yeah, but it's not too late, just in general.
Yeah.
It's not too late. I have a family member now that needs to let go of a car. They don't want to come pick up the car, but they don't want us to sell the car.
Oh, I see.
And we're just like, do you want the car or not? And they're just like, no, let's just hold on. And we're just like, no, you don't want the car. We can tell that you don't want this car. So what do you want?
Yeah, let it go.
So now they're in conversations about, okay, can you pay this? Can you do that? Can you? And that's what it looks like even for them. They don't want these assets back. They want you to manage whatever that you're doing with the assets.
I get you.
Yeah.
All right. So those who want to buy, jump in. Don't be scared.
When there's blood in the streets, buy property.
And I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But now we look
at the Rothschild live by that.
Yeah. Because we look at the interest rates, right? You're like, oh man, it looks so much more expensive now.
But when they go down, you have a lot of equity.
Yes.
You have a lot of there's a lot more in terms of capital gains that happens there. So now you're sitting on an asset at like the third of what you bought it for. Like it's 3 times more than what you expected it would be. And it may not be this year or the next year, but even in 5 years that's important because then you're not kicking yourself.
So if we take down our installment costs now, will we then have to be paying more on the installments later, or will that increase our term, our mortgage term?
It may increase the term, definitely.
Sure.
It may increase the term because of the fact that if it's a lot less, they won't say to you much later, increase it.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can, obviously, if the interest rates go down.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they get comfortable. It's
just
like right now what's happening is that I actually studied this in economics, but I forgot what it's called. But they squeeze you into a corner where you're bleeding out money and you get used to that.
I
forgot the concept is called, but that's what interest rates do to you. And that's why they won't change them that much. They just...
Isn't it called torture?
No.
Nice. Basic economic principle.
No, but a lot of people will get used to what they're paying now and not increase or decrease, or they'll just keep it at what it is. So it may actually not even increase the amount of years after. It may just keep it at what it is because now it's stabilized. So 6-7 years from now, it's stabilized. It's now gone back to 10,000 rands instead of 15. And
Natasha, what should property investors now, what should they know about their tax burdens and tax regulations as it pertains to their property investment portfolio's?
Okay. The first thing is that interest rates don't matter for property investors because it becomes a write-off anyways. So you're able to deduct your tax payable by that amount. What it does hit is your cash flow. So cash flow and profit are two different things, but you are essentially able to get it back by reducing your profit and then not having to pay your biggest expense, which is your tax bill. The second thing is that you the rates and taxes that you pay on a monthly basis are different from the taxes that you need to pay annually to SARS. So there's an added tax burden. And the third thing is to understand...
This is specifically for property investors, right?
Specifically for your property investors. Not for homeowners. All right. So the other thing is to know when you're submitting and which documents you need to submit, and then how to tax plan efficiently for that, because it is essentially a business. So you really want to make sure that this expense that you're paying, which is tax, that you've tackled it well enough that it's not going to cripple you, and that you have an estimate of how much you're going to pay come tax season. So those are the 3 kind of stock points I would point out.
I think I'd like to add on to that. The other thing that I'd like to add is, don't be afraid of your taxes, because you may actually not pay anything. You may actually get money from SARS.
We're so intimidated by that word.
So it is a conversation.
So people are afraid, when in actual fact SARS owes you money, baby, and you need to go cash it.
Check in. Because where you may have made a loss, you can make up for it in terms of your taxes. So that's a really great place to look at putting your loss. And so people think that just because they have cash in the bank that they've made a profit, but sometimes they haven't, not on paper, not according to accounting principles. So it's always good to not look at, oh, I bought the house for this much, the bond is this much, I get rent for this much, I pay rates and taxes, water, electricity, I pay management fees, therefore this is my profit. There are a lot of other considering factors that need to be put in place, which is typically done by the guidance of a tax practitioner or an accountant at first. But if you have accounting knowledge, you'll know what else to include in that. Petrol costs, going to go view the house, obviously painting, different types of things. How can we take a look at what's going on?
Get you.
And so you need to stay compliant as well. If you're not compliant, you put your properties and your business at risk. So that is one of the things that people don't understand. They're putting it as a sacrifice on the altar if you're not actually staying compliant and figuring out what you need to do when it comes to taxes.
Besides taxes and compliance, I think people also neglect their rates and taxes at the municipality, and that's also a sacrifice. The moment that amount hits close to what the house is worth,
that's a problem.
And sometimes they tell you what your house is worth, just mind you, and so they say to you, no, you owe us 200k. We know you bought the house for 700, but look, this house is worth 300 now, and we're gonna take it. We'll give you back your 50,000 rands because now there's also interest and So don't neglect your rates and taxes as well.
There's a beauty in having the key and taking the picture, but there's a responsibility in stewarding that for the purpose of longevity. It's not just enough to get it. It's something else to keep it.
I'll ask you what your clients probably ask you all the time. As a property investor, how do I decrease my tax burden legally?
So keeping track of all of the things that you do in order to have that property generate income. There's not always a straight shooter question. Sometimes people might travel to Europe and try and close a client, or they need to do certifications, or rather, what is that thing called with the lawyer? Apostilling it? Yeah. Well, anyways, you have to go to the lawyers, whatever. These things that are in the journey of you generating an income, of you having your tenants, keeping them happy. Maybe you sent them a McDonald's. So those are the rule of thumb is anything that you did in order for you to sustain and generate an income in your business is a write-off.
Needs to be accounted for.
But you need to also know how to account for it. There is there are formats that are acceptable, which is why typically you would speak to an accountant, because that's what we do. We put it in a specific format, so rental schedules, whatever they may be,
and
then you need to have your supporting documents. So keeping record of these expenses is super important. I would keep that in like a Dropbox or a Google Drive.
Record keeping is, as business people,
it is tricky. It is. To
be honest, I don't keep receipts.
It's difficult.
It's so tough.
I just tell her like, look, my friend,
help me.
I'm just gonna give you my bank statements. Beyond this,
and it's more work for you.
And it's sad because sometimes I'm with her, and they'll give me a receipt, and she'll look at me, and I'll say, "Please throw it away for me."
And she's like,
all the time.
Are you gonna do that in front of me
right now? Please throw it away for me. Because what am I gonna do with this piece of paper?
A receipt?
It's okay. What? She's Superwoman. She knows. It's okay.
That is really how it is. Because a lot of people, I mean, to keep every single receipt can get a bit tricky. But if you do a lot of things online, there's always a possibility that you can go and get that receipt again. So I think that's what we just rely on. Like, we can always go to that shop system on this day and say, hey, this transaction, can you give us this if need be? Which typically doesn't come up. But when it comes to your rentals and so forth, that does come up. So you should keep your, because it's not many things that you're going to be doing. So it does get looked into.
So we are approaching, as we shoot now, we are approaching tax season.
Yes.
How do we get ready for tax season? As let's start as just non-business owners and then look at business owners.
Individuals knowing the tax types you need to submit for and understanding what automatically appears. So your IP5s will appear. Tax types are, do I have a side hustle? So is there something else that I need to be submitting? Have I been keeping a record of that? And how can I prepare for that? Because this is the time to submit that. Anything outside of your IRP5, which will automatically appear, your employer will take care of that. If you had...
Forget that our side hustles are taxable.
Oh, they are. Yeah, they
are.
And then if you had something like out-of-pocket medical aid expenses, it's really good to keep track of, because then you can actually claim for that.
Oh, all right.
And then looking at things like your RAs, if there's something that doesn't appear on your, which is your retirement annuity, if it doesn't appear on your e-filing profile, that's important. But overarchingly, what you need to do is ensure you have an e-filing account in the first place. Gaining visibility into your tax affairs is super important. And then from there saying, well, I think I did a few things that don't appear here, or I don't know, maybe let me speak to someone. But like, having the visibility is the first step. Right. And then from there, compiling all the necessary documents that support all of the other things that you have done that might create a tax event.
We think that opening up an e-filing account
makes us now
causing trouble for ourselves.
No, I know.
You never disappear from the system.
It's also already there. You just don't see it. It's like having a Gmail account that has been open since but you don't have the password to.
I see.
And now you're just logging in.
You're
just logging in. Like, it's been there. And it's important to just log in. So creating that, you already have your tax number. The moment you do that, you're actually just seeing what's happening.
Okay, that's interesting.
But it's there.
Oh, man. When I own a piece of property and I then decide to rent out a portion of it, the cottage maybe, and I rent it out to a tenant or a business tenant for that matter, is that taxable?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
So that's regarded as income.
But nothing is too small. But
there are also a lot of expenses to that.
Because
most times you have to renovate it. Most times, the tenant will default or whatever.
And you don't earn income, something like that.
So I think the most important thing is just saying that I'm doing this. And I have this. Because they can see the difference. And they'll take it from there. And don't think by declaring it, you're already wrong. No, that's exactly what you should be doing.
Okay. I want to talk about people who are personal brands and speakers, like ourselves, and people doing content work and all of that. What's our tax burden?
The same thing as you're basically going to be taxed as a sole proprietor in most cases.
Even if I'm not registered as a business for that.
Then that's now tax season is the time to be submitting that.
Even if the money comes into my
personal account. That's exactly it. So it comes into your personal account. You don't have a registered business. It's kind of informal. It doesn't happen all the time. Maybe it does. Maybe you have a gig contract. But you need to essentially do a separate set of financial statements there. Does this have assets? Did you have to buy equipment for this side hustle? Did you use all of those things? Do you have a specific car for this? Did you designate a specific room for this? And we start to write that off. Maybe you can deduct some rent in your space because you have to actually be in that space. So yes, you do need to do financial statements for that. And it takes the reason why is because you're incorporating assets as well as your liabilities. Maybe you had to buy a phone on credit. You have to incorporate that and submit that now in tax season.
And how do I prove this to SARS? That
they might ask for receipts. It's going to be in your bank account. You're probably going to invoice people. There's going to be some sort of proof, but the biggest proof is that it's there on your bank statement that you earned that income.
I was talking about the expenses.
The expenses? So most of that is going to be either from your bank statements if it's really clear. SARS is not... they with all of the audit cases I've dealt with, sometimes I've had to deal with bank statements just because nobody really keeps records like that. So your bank statements might be sufficient. Sometimes they'll ask for more, so you'd have to go to the service providers and so forth. But for the most part, the proof is the financial statements. They take the financial statements, they look at them. If they want to audit them, they will audit them. And they'll ask for other things from your accountant that we got to those final figures for. And then if they want even more, which is not really often the case, they'll delve into, okay, please give us supporting documents. They'll usually select, please give us these line items. We want the invoices for that. But typically it stops at you upload the financial statements or the accountant uploads them and they're like, all right, cool.
Make us smart a bit. How can we go around about this in a way where we will see some tax breaks in how we do things as people who work from home, people who are in the gig economy,
Yeah.
all of that. How can we go about things in a smart way so that at the time it's tax season, I can have a lesser burden or I can have an actual rebate?
So gig economy, in terms of being a business, you want to look at different business tax structures. So if you do qualify for turnover tax, you can do that in your personal capacity.
Firstly, should I register that side of my life as a business?
It depends. I can't give you a clear-cut answer. That actually depends on the numbers. You need to run the numbers to see if the profit that you hold in your personal capacity with that tax rate compared to in a business capacity makes sense.
Sure.
Sometimes not.
Sure.
You know.
Get you.
And then so with that, you will have to see which kind of incentives you qualify for. With that, you don't typically see rebates or refunds. You can just roll over a loss, so that, you know, if the next year you make a profit, you can just reduce it by the loss you experienced the previous year. But you don't see, you know, money coming back typically unless you've overpaid in taxes.
I see.
Then it comes back with interest. And we've done that for a lot of people, like, oh no, I think you've overpaid in tax. Let's submit these supporting documents, and SARS come back 60,000, 100,000, 200,000
Good.
with interest. In a personal capacity, you would then do things like your medical aids, your RAs, and we have some sort of tax break, so pay attention to the budget speech. So you'll have certain things that will happen for very small periods of time. Like now we have the solar energy one.
Yes.
You can get up to 15,000 rand back, you know, so, but that's only for the next year. It's not going to persist beyond that so far. For businesses, it's 125% back that you can get. So there are a lot of different nuances that can reduce tax in a personal capacity that can increase the likelihood of you receiving a refund or rebate.
I get you. If a first-time property buyer wants to go into the market right now, what's your advice to them? A residential kind of property owner.
Okay, so first things first, if your property is below, I think it's R1 million, and
1.1.
Is it 1.1?
Transfer duty.
No.
Oh.
Where the government gives you money.
Oh, FLISP.
Yeah.
You have to earn less than 23,800
combined.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's also that. So take advantage of FLISP. You can just Google and
FLISP.
Yeah. So
FLISP.
Yes, FLISP.
Sure.
So you Google that, and there's going to be some forms. You could go to the FLISP offices.
Sure.
You fill that in, and at least it'll help you towards, you know, whatever, you know, deposit or whatever. But they give you a certain amount.
And it's cool because the lowest salary you earn is 3,501 to qualify for FLISP. So from there, but there's a cap at 23,800.
23,800.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So there's that. And affordability does not mean that you can afford. So if the bank says to you, we'll give you a loan, when they pre-qualify you, you can get pre-qualified for free with any bond originator. When they pre-qualify you and they say to you, you qualify for R1 million, just maybe keep it at 700,000.
I see.
Just
Always don't use all.
Don't use all of your equity or credit you know, just play it safe, because you don't know what the future holds, and you're trying to keep expenses as low as is possible until the riffraff is gone. So I think that's the main thing for me. But don't be afraid. Ask questions. You don't know what you don't know. Just talk to someone about it, and you know, talk to me about it. I'm always available, and just say, you know, I've been thinking of doing this. What do you think? I can't guarantee that you'll pick my brain for free.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, now and then I'll just we'll have the conversation.
How long are we expected to feel the pain of the interest rates hikes?
Sure. A lot of my wealthy clients that I'm talking to now are saying to me that this is a correction. So this is a way to get the South African economy to be better again.
I see.
So I don't know how long it's going to go on for. I would say that expect another 2-3 years of this hike, but once it stabilizes, they'll keep it at that for a couple of years, and then they'll start decreasing again. And then that's where we need to go back and take up as much credit as possible. And then
the governor of SARB, the Reserve Bank, did say it will go up, but we are thinking that it should come and correct again soon.
I mean, so that's how life works. That's just economics.
Yeah, when he said soon, I was like, soon! Yes! It's happening, but it doesn't seem like it's that soon.
Not that soon. I think he was just like with caution, but it's a global phenomenon. Like you're seeing interest rates and inflation and all of those corrections and repercussions of many added effects compounding and just being where it is. But it does ultimately.
I know South Africans think that we're having a terrible time.
Yeah.
But trust me, we're not.
No.
Really?
We are not having a terrible time. South Africa is still one of the cheapest places to have and run a business in the world.
Come on.
In the world. Yes.
Yeah. No, definitely.
We still have a very low what do you call this? Living. Like
cost of living
is still very low compared to other places. Sure. So if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. But I think it's just a matter of mindset and fighting for yourself.
Sure. Just information as well.
And information
get wisdom, get information, get the advice. And to consult. You know, at how far can I go in my tax journey without needing you? How far can I go in document stuff and filling it without needing to call Natasha? Say, I'm stuck.
I think as far as you are comfortable with your e-filing account, if you know how if you understand, because e-filing is just a representation of tax laws. So if you know the buttons to click and they're like, as according to section B brackets IO, you know, if you are comfortable with interacting with that, then you're fine. If you are comfortable with your ability to compile documents according to the right standard, then you're fine. There's you know, you can do that. So it's insofar as you are comfortable with the result being up to the ability of your capabilities, your refunds being up to that or whatever it may be, then you are able to engage with it.
This question reminds me of for sale by owner.
Hey,
no,
is that good?
No, I hear you, and I feel like you're trying to be humble about it, and I'm just like, no, because they still miss things along the way,
and then we pay for it later.
Yes, and you think that selling your own house, you're gonna save money on the agent's commission, but you may actually have underpriced it. Then
number one, yes,
you know, you may actually have missed some things in the clause, that of like an offer to purchase that you drafted way or got from wherever you got it from. No,
it is true.
I think just ask her. You know, I think just
have
at
the
least
conversation.
for the
first
conversation.
time.
You know, just say, I'm doing this. I'm thinking this way. I'm going with this thing. What do you think? And she may come up with things that you don't know She may come up with things that are actually going to save you a lot of money. So. I hear you, but I don't.
It's true. It's true. You pay for it somewhere. I think that's the point. You pay for it somewhere. So if it is about money saving, it's probably not the best way to go to save your money. But if it is about you having the capabilities, cool. But for the most part, things change. The system has changed dramatically since I started using it. Even now, auto assessments, that's a new thing. Tax clearances have changed. I mean, getting a foreign tax clearance has changed. So financially immigrating has changed drastically just in the past month. So, I mean, that's something that we have to stay on top of. We have to put in CPD hours and just stay in the know of what is happening practically.
Tell me about, you know, we're drawn to a close. Tell me about tax havens and investing offshore and all of that. Is that a real phenomenon?
Oh, of course, yeah. Tax havens are something that... They're one of my favorite topics, but they are intensely complex. So it is a conversation that people like to have over mimosas. It is something that tax havens are a great option if you find that your tax bill is getting higher than what it would take to do something like that administratively. So it is a costly topic or costly exercise. Of course. But if you find that is cheaper than your tax bill, you might want to opt in for that. Sure. It is something that you need to take into consideration alongside with other things. It's not just about tax. It's about how you live your life. Because there are certain residency laws that are applicable that you need to show up for, that if you're not living your life in line with that or building your life in that way, perhaps you won't be able to meet those obligations. So when you see yourself, if you think of yourself, oh, I've saved so much tax, what does your life look like, is what I always ask. Who are you spending it with? Why are you spending it in those places? It's got a lot to do with where and who you spend your time with. And what you spend your time on, what you spend your money on. So tax havens are great. They're amazing. Many different jurisdictions. I could rattle them off right now. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't know why someone is trying to look into that.
And for someone who's not a business owner, but who's a professional, like a chartered accountant, lawyer, doctor, whatever, senior manager, is this an option?
It is an option. Being employed is an expensive exercise. I always say, it's tax-wise very expensive. You pay for this country.
It's 40 something.
It's very expensive. That's your biggest expense, like I say. It is a viable option if you're looking to diversify. So if you want to put your money in a different currency, which whether the country's on fire or not might be a great option for you to just have the diversity, also have the flexibility. So offshore is a great way to look at structures that make sense in, and then to maneuver it or create structures where if it's generating income, maybe you have an offshore investment, it's generating some sort of ROI, it doesn't come back to be taxed this side, it perhaps stays that side, and you have a structure that keeps your profit or your income away from the very costly, expensive tax.
All right, let's close it, ladies. Making money during these times, is it possible, and what can we do?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Talk to me.
Making money during these times.
I think getting out of survival mode? This is what I'm asking. And actually seeing ourselves bettering our lives. Then instead of saying, okay, we are in a tough season, it's a tough economy. No one should expect to do anything better. Okay?
I think that's what we spoke of. I think that's what we spoke of earlier on the topic of fear. And a lack of economic participation.
That's right.
And that all that you should be doing is participating economically, first of all. And I always tell my people who want to get into property, the smaller investors that don't think that they can go mad with it. I always tell them that sourcing the deal is the most difficult part. Getting the money is easiest.
Exactly.
If there's a deal that is going to give you an ROI of maybe 30-40%, there's no way you won't get money for that deal. So come together, form, a company, a business or conglomerate or whatever, and during this time, source deals. Go on to Property24, go on to My Roof, go on to private property and see what's on there and see how far down you can negotiate it. Then come together as a collective and, buy real estate.
Get you.
There's a Jay-Z line in his latest album that talks about the fact that there was a property that he was presented to. And the property was 2 million. And now the property is 20 million and he's kicking himself because it's been 10 years or something, but it's it's hardly a decade and it's gone up 10 times. So you don't want to kick yourself. Take it from Jay-Z. You don't want to kick yourself.
That's my man right there.
Take it from Jay-Z.
I know y'all hate him, but that's my man right there.
I love Jay-Z. So I think that's the main thing. Get out of the fear. Get out of thinking that you shouldn't share your ideas with the people around you. Share your ideas and see how crazy you can get together.
Man, get you. Awesome.
And I think don't look to the outside to tell you what you're supposed to do. It's never an indicator, and we're always called to call those things as though they are. So never look at that as any sort of indicator of what's possible. You can look at it for other things, but just never as a framework of how you should participate in life. So
the craziest people are the ones changing the world.
Exactly.
So try and discuss your crazy ideas with other people. And you don't know, they might be as crazy as you.
Exactly.
That's right. Tell us what can people get from you and how they can get hold of you. If they want to buy an RDP house, can they come to you? What do you work with? Which areas?
No, I'm not in the business. That's illegal.
Of course. Yeah. I want to check your levels. In this
no, I can stomach a lot of things. But if you're going to do something bad, can you just do it at a higher level? Imagine I'm getting arrested for 100,000 when I could just go to the 50 million just play around with the big boy. So how to get a hold of me? Social media, Nomsa Nhlabathi. You'll just put it down there. It'll be there. Prestige Property Group SA on social media as well. And you could just email me. n@prestigepropertygroup.co.za. Just literally Beautiful. N. That's it. That's all you need to remember. And the company name.
Yes. All right. Tasha, what do you do and how can they get you?
So you can reach me with on social media as well at Tax with Tash, on LinkedIn as well, Natasha Lorde, website lordbusiness.solutions, and basically we offer all sorts of assistance if it's advisory, if it's tax compilation, so tax advisory, preparation and filing. Those are the things that we do, and also we offer tax consultations. So someone can book some time with myself or a consultant, and we can chat to them about their taxes and get them to a point where at the end of the consultation they know what to submit, when to submit, and they know exactly how much they should be paying or receiving. There should be an estimate at the end of that. So that's how you can get hold of me.
Even individuals can come to you, not
of
just
course, businesses, individuals,
good.
Local, international, whatever it may be. We can chat.
And you do it, guys. You're not expensive.
My consultation.
We're cheaper than your mistakes.
Ooh, okay, girl.
Shots fired. Conversation closed.
That is so true. I saved a client the other day. I charged him 3.3 for consultation because he was taking up a lot of time. But later on, I think 6 months later, he was like, "Do you know that you saved me 3 million rands?"
Listen.
So
I'm gonna use that. If you see me using that, please.
So
I'm telling you now, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use that.
I love it. Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask. And also, the instances where we won't even charge you to have a conversation. There are times where you could just DM. And we'll have a whole conversation.
Just see what's going on.
You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Nomsa Nhlabathi and Natasha Lorde, our financial gurus who came to be with us on the UnChristian Podcast today. Please get a hold of them. The details are there on the screen again. And let us stop making expensive mistakes. Please subscribe if you've not subscribed, and follow and like and do all those nice things. From me, Ndumiso Mazibuko, thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you.
Thank you for.
This is Phase Music.